Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So welcome to another market open. And of course, U.S., Ukraine, Russia crisis escalates. But today it's more about Germany and Europe and how a new round of sanctions was just announced. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's going on with the markets. And I don't know what else. Let's just go from there. So smash the like, subscribe to the channel, check me out on social media, and follow me on CryptosRUs.com. All right, guys. Good morning. Welcome. Let's take a look at what's going on today. 10 minutes before market opens, before the bell rings. You know, to be honest, the U.S. market is looking much better than last night. Last night, futures pointing to a horrendous open, which it could still get there by the end of today. But right now, the futures eased up. So Dow's at negative 100, NASDAQ negative 62. But last night was like negative 550 at one point. NASDAQ was almost negative 400. However, if you look at individual stocks, they're still not doing very well. But it does seem like, I don't know, there's a little bit more easiness somehow. And it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I still think until we get clarity on whether or not the invasion is going to happen, you know, we're going to be stuck under this cloud of uncertainty for quite some time. Now, Bitcoin also came up slightly, about 500 points since last night. So it's around 37.5, which is, of course, good because we came up a little bit. What's not good is, yeah, it has been coming down for a while now, just like the U.S. market, because of all the uncertainty that we are facing right now, right? So fear, of course, is still very, very high. And, you know, everyone's just guessing. You know, I'm listening to all these people online and on TV. And, you know, you have one side that thinks that, you know, invasion has to happen. Putin can't back down at this point. He has very little options. He either backs off, which will make him look really, really weak at this point, or he continues forward and does the full invasion. And if that happens, it could lead to year-long war, which will be very disastrous for their economy, with their you know, with more sanctions that's going to be placed. I mean, overall, it's just not good overall. So he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, is what most people are saying right now. However, let's talk about a new round of sanctions. So Germany just halts the approval of their new Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which has already been completed. It's just that they have not turned it up because of a lot of pressures from the U.S. not to turn it up. So looking back at Germany's history, they have somehow decided that they don't want anything to do with nuclear. They don't like nuclear power plants. In fact, they're shutting them down. So that means they're more reliant on gas. And they already have one huge pipeline from Russia directly into Germany called Nord Stream 1, which is majority controlled by Russia. And they created a second one, which they were going to turn up, but it hasn't been because the U.S. is telling Germany and NATO that this is a bad idea. You know, you guys are becoming more reliant on Russia. So here's the thing. So Germany, basically, their chancellor, been talking about this too, been talking with Putin on the phone, telling him not to invade those separatist areas from Ukraine. But unfortunately he did, so now they're saying, okay, we're not going to approve this Nord Stream 2. Here's the thing, though. There is a risk to this because, like I just said, there is a Nord Stream 1 pipeline that's already operational. So some feel like if Russia really wanted to retaliate against Germany and Europe, they could shut down that Nord Stream 1 right now. And they do, that will be not good for Germany as far as I know. It won't completely shut them down, but they do rely on that for a lot of gas, and that won't be good for Germany if this escalates. That's what it's looking like right now. But yeah, So that's the latest from Germany, all right? And not only Germany, UK, Boris Johnson has put sanctions against 5 Russian banks and some high network individuals. No, actually, very high network individuals. So according to him, what Putin is doing is going to be a disaster for Russia. We will continue to seek a diplomatic solution until a last possible moment. But we have to face the possibility that none of our messages has been heeded, and Putin is determined to go further and tormenting Ukraine. Okay, so basically, again, sanctions are starting to be piled up, and everyone is trying to get Putin to back off, right? Even Ukraine. Ukraine's president Zelensky thinks that there will be no war. However, if there is one, they will be ready. They will be ready for all-out war if it comes to that. But he believes there will be no war, and yeah, that's what he thinks. So, bottom line is, this morning, more actions or sanctions placed against Putin and Russia. But there are many that still thinks that this is going to happen, because right now Putin has little options. Either he's going to get his demands met, which is not happening. Either he's going to back off, which will make him look very weak at this point, or he's going to invade. And actually invading would probably be the best of the 3 options at this point. However, it's going to lead to some really bad sanctions and a really maybe long-lasting war. There's going to be a lot of people killed and a lot of money lost if he does it. So it's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place and somewhere you don't want to be, right? So that's the latest. Unfortunately, until we get some kind of clarity, we're not going to probably see any kind of recovery at any time until this is resolved. And unfortunately, that's the situation with the U.S. markets, with European markets, with Asian markets. Asia got slaughtered too. I mean, look at, Asia got absolutely slaughtered. Europe, kind of mixed, okay? But pre-market right now in the U.S. doesn't look too good. It's starting to get a little bit more red. Now, I did hear something about GDP, so I was curious. So just looking at GDP by country worldwide, United States is obviously leading around 20 trillion. And then you have China, then you have Japan, Germany, actually 4th. That's actually quite a surprise. I didn't think Germany was this high, but they are. They're number 4 at 3.7 trillion. Then you go down a little bit. So Russia is at 1.6. So Russia, even though they're one of the big countries that exist, their GDP is only about half, less than half of Germany, right? And where is Ukraine? I was looking at Ukraine. I didn't know where Ukraine is, but they're number 60th at 112 billion. And I heard someone say something about this, that Ukraine's GDP equals Walmart's earnings for 16 weeks or something like that. It's insane how big Walmart is and how small, I guess, Ukraine is on, at a GDP level. But just to throw that out there. Interesting fact, just to throw that out there. All right, what else is going on? Well, there's still more Fed news and fear about the Fed in the U.S. Well, this week, we're going to have more economic numbers. Thursday, there's nothing special, nothing going on tomorrow, but Thursday, there's going to be a big report on jobless claims. That, of course, is important every week. We look at that, whether or not that's increasing or escalating or starting to taper off. I mean, that's all important. Friday, we have some inflation numbers. Of course, that is also very important at this point, right? And this is all leading to the March 15th and 16th meeting, the next FOMC meeting. And this will be the meeting that sets, the stage for the remaining of this year. Yesterday, I just covered how JP Morgan Oh, market opened. There we go. Let's see. It's probably gonna be red. Yeah, it's getting more into red. But of course, people are speculating what's going to happen. JP Morgan yesterday came out with some bad news, thinks that the Fed is going to raise rates for 9 straight meetings after March. 9? This is up from 4 that was previously estimated, and then that went up to 6. Now JP Morgan says it's 9. And not only the number of times, well, the hikes could be higher than expected too. So we have one governor from the Federal Reserve, Michelle Bowman. She says she's now open to something that's greater than a quarter point, something greater than 25 basis points, which means the very first one that comes in March could be 50 basis points, which is, again, not ideal, but many thinks that this needs to be done, and maybe the first 2 are 50 basis points, which would mean 1 percentage point higher. And of course, this trickles down to everything else. Mortgages are going to be higher now, so it's going to be harder to get homes, which may cool off the real estate industry. And that could be a good thing because the real estate industry has been just absolutely bonkers over the last few years. So it's going to cool off real estate. It's going to cool off, of course, borrowing, businesses. Liquidity is going to start going down because the Fed will start buying less bonds and eventually just sell off and reduce their balance sheet. So there's a lot of things that's also coming from the Fed side, and this is, of course, something that we need to pay attention to too. After this whole war invasion thing, if it ever happens, this is the next thing, and unfortunately, this is coming next month. It's not like this is 6 months from now. This is coming next month. The good thing about that is we will get clarity because after the March meeting, we will know exactly what to expect. We won't be sitting and waiting and guessing like we have been for the last 2 months, or 3 months, I should say, leading up to March. So this time around, we'll know exactly what we're getting. So that's good. That's good. But this is also coming next week. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. You know, of course, there's still stuff going on in Canada, although I don't know, again, where that's leading. However, the situation in Canada is actually a good, positive endorsement for Bitcoin, right? Positive endorsement for blockchain and decentralization overall. But of course, that situation isn't getting any better. It seems like I haven't seen any new updates about that. So unfortunately, that is still going on. There's just a lot of geopolitical and macroeconomic stuff going on right now. Looking at Bitcoin, still 37.4, slightly lower. Market opens. Yeah, it's getting worse. Like futures indicated last night, Dow's down 300 points. Nasdaq down about 120 right now. I'm just looking at this. This is kind of stupid. Toyota and Yamaha are developing a hydrogen fuel V8 engine. Toyota just will not give up their hydrogen cells. Hydrogen cell for car just seems like it's dead. It's not going to take off. The world has moved to EV. Why is Toyota still being stubborn and trying to come out with a hydrogen car? You know, I was just in California recently, in San Diego, in fact, and I'll tell you, like 1 in 10 cars is a Tesla in San Diego. Like literally every second you'll see a new Tesla. I mean, Tesla is dominating right now, and especially in California. And how many Toyota Mirai hydrogen cars did I see? I'm surprised I actually saw one, because there's actually some hydrogen, stations in California. But outside of that, there's nowhere else. So, I mean, anyways, just throwing that out there. It makes no sense. Even Elon's making fun of Toyota for that. So, what else is there? Well, in terms of Bitcoin, so unfortunately, yeah, we are stuck in the 37,000 right now. But I've been highlighting what's to come, right? And this one is actually looking at a new kind of metric I haven't seen before, the Mayer multiple, which basically measures whether or not there is a top or a bottom. And you can see this yellow, no, not yellow, green line. That usually indicates that a top has formed. And then when you go lower, the lower you go, the more likely there's a reversal. But the interesting thing is, back in November when Bitcoin peaked at 69,000, this indicator did not hit the green. Okay? It was only halfway and then came back down, which makes you wonder, right, whether or not that was the top, that was the peak. And if you're using a metric like this is indicating no, we didn't. Right, back in 2021 when Bitcoin hit 64,000, this actually did indicate that it was a peak. But in November, it did not. It was nowhere close to that. So kind of interesting. But anyways, it does show that, of course, we are way below that 2.4 mark. And the lower we go, the more likely Bitcoin is going to bounce. So there you go. And of course, you have other long-term metrics like percent supply active for 1+ years that continues to go up. And of course, this shows you that the holders are not going away. The whales are still increasing, and that's what you want to see. Miners are not going away. The large holders are not going away. Retail, at least the long-term holders or investors, are not going away. And ultimately, this is why Bitcoin will recover and will win out. You just have to be patient. So those are things. Hey, Bitcoin is starting to come up a little bit. That's good. Starting to see some volume. Yeah, some volume. Not that many. Not that much, I should say. Overall market, yeah, starting to come back. I guess people are digesting still what's going on right now, right? There's just a lot to digest, a lot of uncertainty. And we're all waiting for some more clarity. All right, let's do some quick Q&A. Zangul says, sorry, Sarah Palin will protect Alaska from Russia. Oh, man, that's funny. Need a good laugh in the morning. The crypto container says, I'm from Russia. My wife is from Ukraine. No one in Russia or Ukraine is taking all this seriously. Putin is just seeking attention, power-hungry narcissist. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. I think Putin is seeking more power, right? Obviously, declaring the two separatist areas, small areas, controlled by separatists, recognizing them as independent countries now. Obviously, people didn't like that. Russia putting more troops in there. People don't like that, right? But yeah, that's really, I guess, it depends on how you look at it. Is it a precursor to full-on invasion or is it not, right? There's a lot of countries against Russia right now in terms of what they're doing. Obviously, NATO countries, obviously, most of Europe and the U.S., right? And it seems like Russia is starting and poke the bear by themselves, right? They have no allies with this right now, right? With this course of action. So we'll see. But many people think that this will happen because Putin has put himself in a position where he can't really back down. We'll see. But until something happens, again, the market is going to be kind of just like hovering, or there's going to be more weakness because people are afraid to make moves. At least I should say the traders are afraid to make moves. Investors, long-term investors, is like what you said. You know what? We will get through this. And there are a lot of bargains, a lot of opportunities out there, which we should take advantage of when things are low. But a lot of traders are just very uneasy right now. They don't know what to make of it, and they're not liking what they're seeing. Yeah, it hasn't gotten any better. Why aren't closed captions working? I don't know. They should. I didn't do anything with closed captions. I would buy food from a We're All George food truck. Yeah, I don't plan on coming out with any food trucks. All right, let's see here. People in San Diego can afford 70K cars. Why? Why did he say that? Yeah, I'm not gonna review that project. I love to see Toyota come out with a hydrogen plug-in hybrid, and that won't happen. You know, Toyota plug-in hybrids just aren't that good, or hybrids in general. I mean, but they're learning. They're learning from their mistake. The Tundra, their new Tundra hybrid, actually works very differently, drives very smooth, although the new engine is having some wastegate issues right now. So it does show you that these new engines aren't nearly as reliable as the old ones, at least not yet. Thoughts on DCA into Tesla? Well, Tesla isn't doing all that bad. I was actually looking at this morning, again, some of these other stocks like Facebook and PayPal absolutely murdered, basically. They're down to the same point as April of 2020, right? Like PayPal's back to April 13th. MicroStrategy, even though it has not done that well, it is holding, just like Bitcoin. It makes sense because they're pretty much, their stock tracks Bitcoin's price. So they're back to about December of 2020, early January. So they've wiped out 2021 gains, right? But not 2020 gains, which is still tremendous because back in April, they were still hovering around 120. So MicroStrategy has held at least their 2020 gains, but not 2021. But some of the other, some of the other stocks like AMD and Nvidia and semiconductors, they've come off from their top, but they held relatively well because you look at, they have had tremendous 2021s and 2022. That's AMD, and you could see, man, I still regret not holding on at AMD since my college days because they were garbage before, and now they're one of the best companies out there. You look at let's look at Tesla real quick. If I could bring up Tesla. Tesla over here. Oops, I did it twice. Tesla also came down tremendously from their peak, but they are at the same levels as October 2021. So obviously they held much better than some of these other companies, and they also had a tremendous 2020 and 2021, just like Bitcoin. So, you look at it, and I still get questions all the time, like, George, why do you think Bitcoin is still the best hedge against inflation? Why do you think it's best to buy Bitcoin, right? And the answer is easy. You just look at performance. You look at history. You go back. Don't look at last week or don't look at last month. Look at the last few years. Nothing has outperformed Bitcoin. Nothing. Not even Tesla. So if you look at a longer time frame, nothing compares. This is why I maintain that Bitcoin is the best asset to hold, right? Not only from a price appreciation standpoint, but just look at what's going on with Canada, right? With the need of a decentralized payment network, a decentralized network that can't be shut down, can't be confiscated, can't be controlled, right? This is one of the great use cases for Bitcoin that you don't get with anything else. You don't get that with stocks or anything, right? So that is also important. So yeah. So just so you know, back in April of 2020, Bitcoin was still hovering below 8,000. So just to put things into context, even though many stocks had a tremendous 2021, almost all of the high flyers, had their gains wiped out for 2021 and most of 2020. Bitcoin is still way above where it was compared to March and April of 2020. Am I bullish on B Pro? I'm not bullish. I'm just neutral. I don't know how their new acquisition, they got acquired by bigger companies, so I don't know how that's go turn out. You think NFT Worlds will get to Sand's current market cap? Seems like an awesome project. It seems like it's okay. I need to learn more about them. They're like Minecraft compatible. I don't know what that means exactly. If you could just import a map from Minecraft. But they're very hot right now. But a lot of NFT projects that metaverses get very hot, so you got to be careful. But I am going to look more into them. Has Russia been removed from SWIFT? That's an interesting question because someone sent me this saying that that's probably the next move, that SWIFT will be cut off from Russia, and then Russia will have major banking issues, except that they may turn to Bitcoin and blockchain to get around that. That's an interesting theory. I don't know if they're that ready to make that kind of move, right? But they may not have a choice if that does happen, right? It's an interesting theory. Let's see. Wolf Capital says Putin is immensely prideful. He sees Ukraine as Russia's crown jewel, and he sees an opening given the declining influence of the U.S. I think so. I mean, I think Putin wants to get the band back together and recreate the Soviet Union. I mean, that's what it seems like, but the world is not going to make it easy for that to happen, right? I mean, I'm going to throw out an example that really doesn't relate, and it does, is AT&T. I don't know. You guys remember the antitrust for AT&T back in the day, and the government split AT&T into like 9 separate companies, Verizon being one of them. And guess what? Slowly over time, after being separated into 9 different companies, they started merging and merging and merging and merging. And now it's pretty much back to just AT&T. Every single carrier that got split off has been remerged back into the old AT&T, with the exception of a few like Verizon and I believe Comcast was also one of them. But it's funny how that works. Just to throw that out there. I'm just making a comparison to how I think Russia and Putin wants to bring back the old band together, but that's just not likely. All right, guys. I think that's it. You know, overall, more uncertainty. U.S. markets is actually doing much better than yesterday. Not to say that it can't get worse, but it is looking better. Seems like the traders are digesting what's going on, the latest news from Germany about, halting the approval of the new gas line from Russia, more sanctions from the from UK, from the US, right? Many people are starting to feel a little better about it, but I would say we're not going to get any true clarity until this resolves itself. So hopefully it does, but then next month, we're going to have to worry about the Fed. So, a lot of stuff coming up. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in a couple hours. I'll give you more thoughts about Bitcoin and crypto overall. All right? Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.